The academy floated in quiet space, far from any single world. It was made of long silver halls, wide classrooms, and tall windows that showed stars instead of sky. Many species studied there. Some had scales, some had fur, some had eyes that glowed softly in the dark. Humans were rare. Most students had never met one before. The human girl walked through the halls every day without drawing attention. She was not tall. She was not loud. She wore the same simple uniform as everyone else. Her hair was dark and tied back. Her face looked calm, almost bored. Many students thought she was weak. They thought humans came from a rough world but had lost that strength long ago. Her name did not matter to most of them. To the academy records, she was just another exchange student from a distant system. To herself, she was someone trying to finish her studies and go home. She sat near the back of her classes. She listened more than she spoke. When teachers asked questions, she answered clearly but without pride. Some students noticed that she never seemed tired, even during long lessons. Others noticed that loud noises did not make her flinch. Still, no one cared enough to ask why. A small group of students did care, but for the wrong reason. They sat together near the front of the room. They were larger than most. Their bodies were thick and hard, built for strength, not thought. On their homeworlds, they were hunters and warriors. At the academy, they were bored. They watched the human girl when the teacher turned away. They whispered and laughed. One of them tapped the desk with sharp claws and smiled. The teacher spoke about survival theory, about how different species adapted to danger. He spoke with pride about worlds that were calm and safe. He spoke with fear about Deathworlds. When he mentioned Earth, some students turned to look at the human girl. She did not react. She kept her eyes on the screen. The bell rang. Students stood and began to leave. The human girl packed her things slowly. She waited until most of the room was empty before standing. The group noticed. They followed her at a distance. Not close enough to be obvious. Not far enough to lose her. The halls were wide and clean. Light panels glowed softly above. Security cameras watched every corner. The academy was proud of its safety systems. No serious harm had ever happened there. The human girl walked toward a quieter section of the building. This path was longer, but she preferred it. Fewer students meant fewer questions. Behind her, the group quickened their steps. One of them laughed. It echoed. She heard it. Of course she did. She did not turn around. They reached a long hallway between two learning wings. Classes were still in session there. The space was empty. Their footsteps sounded loud. One of them moved faster and stepped in front of her. Another stood behind her. Two more blocked the sides. She looked at them then. Her eyes were steady. One of the group spoke. His voice was deep and rough. He mocked her size. He mocked her silence. He mocked her world. She listened. Another stepped closer. He leaned down too close, trying to frighten her. He said humans should not be there. He said Deathworlders belonged in cages or labs. She took a slow breath. Her hands stayed at her sides. The cameras above them made a soft hum. The group felt safe. They knew the rules. They knew the cameras would protect them from real trouble. Words were not violence. Blocking a hallway was just a joke. One of them reached out and pushed her shoulder. It was not hard. Not enough to cause injury. The one who pushed her blinked. She had not stumbled. She had not fallen. She had not looked afraid. Something about that made his smile fade. The lights flickered. It was quick. Just a blink. They all noticed. One of them laughed again, louder this time, pretending it meant nothing. The human girl lifted her eyes and looked past them, toward the end of the hall. The cameras made a sharp sound. Then they went dark. The hum stopped. Silence filled the hallway. The group froze. One of them looked up. The camera lens was black. Another checked his wrist device. No signal. The human girl exhaled slowly. She did not smile. Far away, in a quiet control room, a small warning light turned red. The story of the academy was about to change. The hallway felt different without the cameras. The lights flickered above, casting long shadows on the walls. The group of alien students looked around nervously. Their confidence from before had disappeared. The human girl stood in the middle of the hallway, calm and still. She did not move. She did not speak. Her eyes were focused, watching each of them. One of the larger aliens, tall with green scales and sharp teeth, stepped forward. He tried to force a smile, but it looked weak. He leaned close to the girl and said a threat. His claws moved slowly, trying to scare her. He wanted her to react, to scream, to run. He wanted to feel power. She did not react. Not a flinch. not a step back. Just calm eyes, steady and unshaken. The other aliens whispered among themselves. They had never seen anyone act like this. Their homeworlds did not have humans. They did not know humans could be quiet in danger and still very strong. Another alien tried to shove her. He pushed with both hands, expecting her to stumble. Her feet did not move. She barely shifted. She did not fall. The air seemed to tense around her. Even the flickering lights above slowed in their rhythm. The tall green alien growled. He stepped back and motioned to the others. They had no plan. Their jokes and mockery had failed. The human girl had not even raised her voice. Suddenly a soft hum began behind them. It was not the cameras. It was low, almost impossible to hear. It grew louder, but the alien students could not tell where it came from. The walls seemed to vibrate slightly, and the hallway temperature felt colder. The human girl's eyes moved to the far end of the hall, calm but alert. She seemed ready for anything. One alien shouted, trying to regain control. He accused her of something he could not name, hoping words could make her fear him. The girl lifted her hand slightly. She spoke softly, but her voice carried clearly. She told him to step back. She warned them not to make a mistake. There was no anger in her voice, only certainty. Then they noticed the change in the air. The sound behind them became louder. The lights flickered again. Shadows moved strangely along the walls. The aliens began to step back, slowly, unsure what was happening. Their bravado was gone. Only fear remained. The human girl did not advance. She stayed calm. She watched every movement, every twitch. One alien, the smallest of the group, tried to run around her. He moved quickly, expecting her to react too slowly. He wanted to push past and escape. His foot caught on the smooth floor. He stumbled, hitting one of the walls hard. He cried out. The human girl did not laugh. She did not gloat. She only watched. The others froze. They were unsure whether to help him or stay back. The strange hum grew louder. Their voices shook. Even the strongest among them felt weak and uncertain. They looked at each other, silently asking who would leave first. No one moved. The lights flickered again. This time, one of the panels above fell to the floor, breaking the silence with a sharp sound. They jumped back. The human girl stayed calm. Her breathing was normal. Her eyes scanned each of them. She did not move forward, but she did not move away. She was steady, like a rock in a storm. One alien shouted angrily and tried to grab her shoulder. She moved, faster than expected, stepping to the side. His grip missed entirely. He lost balance and fell to the floor. The others gasped. They had never seen a human move with such speed and control. It was not violent. It was precise. The tall green alien hissed. His eyes widened. He did not know what to do. The air felt heavy. The strange hum seemed to come from everywhere. Even the walls seemed to pulse with it. They were no longer in control. Fear gripped them. It was not fear of her strength alone. It was fear of something they could not see or name. They tried to leave. They ran toward the doors at the end of the hall. The handles did not move. The doors would not open. Panic rose. One shouted for help. Another tried to find a hidden exit. There was none. They were trapped. The human girl did not chase them. She stood in the center, calm, observing. One by one, the aliens realized their threats were useless. Their size and strength meant nothing here. They had no advantage. Their weapons, claws, and teeth did not matter. They were just students now, cornered by something far greater than themselves. The smallest alien whimpered. He turned to his friends, his eyes wide. The others were silent. They had never seen someone so quiet, so calm, who could stop them without striking. They understood, finally, that humans were dangerous in ways they could not measure. The soft hum grew louder. The air itself seemed alive. One of the green aliens' eyes twitched. The lights flickered faster. Shadows danced along the walls. The group held their hands up, not as a challenge but as a plea. The human girl watched. She did not move. She did not threaten. She simply waited. She waited for them to understand that the power of her world was not in fighting. It was in surviving. It was in knowing what danger could do and controlling it. She had survived more than they could imagine. Their attempts to intimidate were nothing compared to what she had endured. The tall green alien spoke again, but his voice shook. He asked her what she was, what humans really were. The question was whispered, almost in fear. The human girl's lips curled into a small smile. She did not speak immediately. She let them feel the silence. She let them wonder what a human could do if pressed further. Finally, she spoke softly. She told them that humans were strong, yes, but strength alone did not define them. It was the will to survive. the control to act when danger appeared, the intelligence to remain calm when all others panicked. She told them humans could be dangerous, not out of anger, but out of necessity. The aliens froze. They could not respond. Their arrogance had been broken. Their bullying had failed. They were trapped by walls, by fear, and by the knowledge that humans were different from anything they had known. The hum faded. The lights returned to normal. The hallway was quiet again. The doors opened. They could leave if they wanted, but they did not. They looked at the human girl. They looked at each other. They had learned something they could not forget. Fear was no longer a tool. Strength was not enough. And humans were not prey. The human girl turned and continued walking. She did not run. She did not hurry. She walked as if nothing had happened, as if the moment of tension had been nothing more than a pause. The aliens stared after her, their minds spinning with questions they could not answer. Somewhere in the academy, the security team noticed the cameras were back online. The footage showed the aliens cornering the girl, but nothing more. No one could explain what had happened when the cameras failed. The human girl was already gone from the hallway, leaving only a memory and a lesson none of them would forget. The human girl moved through the quiet halls of the academy with calm steps. Other students passed by, not knowing what had happened in the previous hallway. Some whispered about the broken cameras. Some wondered why she had not panicked. Girl ignored them. Her focus was elsewhere. Watched, always listened, always measured every step. Meanwhile, the alien students who had cornered her were still shaken. They sat together in a lounge, their bodies slumped. Their sharp teeth and claws did not help them here. Their bravado had failed. The smallest alien stared at his hands. The one with green scales muttered under his breath. None of them dared speak her name. They simply replayed the events in their minds, trying to understand how a quiet human girl had stopped them so completely. The human girl entered the training wing of the academy. It was quieter than the classrooms. Machines hummed softly. Mirrors lined the walls. She walked past them without glancing at her reflection. Her mind was focused. She could feel something unusual. The hum of the hallway, the strange pulse of the air, even the flickering lights. All of it had not been random. Something had reacted to her presence, to the tension, to the way the aliens had tried to threaten her. She could sense it, like a vibration beneath the floor. She began her usual exercises. She moved with precise motions, stretching her muscles, testing her reflexes. Her body was strong because her world had demanded it. Humans had to survive danger every day, even if danger came in silence, even if it came in ways no one else could see. Her strength was not about fighting. It was about control, about being ready for anything. Across the academy, the alien students were still uneasy. They spoke quietly, planning to report what had happened. They wanted to claim she had tricked them somehow, or that something had malfunctioned. But each knew, deep down, that the human girl had done nothing magical. She had only been herself, calm and prepared. And that had been enough. The green-scaled alien finally stood. He walked toward a large window, staring at the stars beyond the academy. He whispered to himself about humans. He had always thought humans were weak. Now he did not know what to think. The other aliens watched him, unsure if they should speak. No words could explain what they had felt. They had been strong. They had been confident. They had cornered her, yet they were the ones left feeling small. Back in the training wing, the human girl heard footsteps. She did not look up immediately. The sound was faint, cautious. She waited. When she saw a small group of students enter, she acknowledged them with a nod. They were not threatening. They were curious. Some had heard rumors. Some had seen the camera lights flicker. None spoke at first. The human girl continued her exercises, smooth and deliberate. Her focus never broke. One student, a tall alien with gray skin and amber eyes, finally spoke. He asked her how humans could remain so calm, how they could be ready for anything without showing fear. She answered simply. Humans learned to survive first, to act only when necessary, to watch and wait before responding. Fear was a tool, not a master. Strength was a measure, not a boast. She spoke calmly, without pride, without anger. Her words made sense even to aliens who had never understood humans before. Meanwhile, the alien students from the hallway were called to a meeting with the academy officials. They tried to explain what had happened. They said the cameras had failed. They said the human girl had been in the wrong place at the wrong time. But the officials noticed something. Alien stories did not match. Their fear, their hesitation, their confusion, all of it was real. The officials could see that the human girl had changed something, not by fighting, but by simply existing. The human girl finished her exercises and walked toward the central library. She moved quietly unnoticed. She had a reason to be there. The books and records held knowledge about survival on different worlds. She studied them carefully, comparing information, learning patterns, predicting dangers. Humans thrived because they never relied solely on strength. They relied on understanding, on strategy, on patience. Outside, the green-scaled alien returned to his friends. They were still shaken. They whispered again about the human girl. She had not attacked them. She had not shown anger, yet she had made them fear. Fear was the strongest teacher, stronger than any weapon. They realized humans were dangerous not because they sought violence, but because they could survive it and control it better than anyone else. The human girl left the library and moved toward her dormitory. She passed classrooms, training areas, and observation decks. Everywhere she went, the air felt different. Not because she was trying to change it, but because she carried the presence of her world with her. Deathworlders were not loud or cruel. They were calm, precise, and ready for any situation. Those who underestimated them learned this the hard way. That evening, the alien students gathered again. They tried to joke, to act normal, but the smallest one trembled when he spoke. The tall green alien remained quiet, staring at his claws. None of them could shake the memory of the hallway. They had been cornering her, thinking themselves safe, thinking themselves strong, but strength and safety were illusions when faced with a human who had survived more than they could imagine. The human girl sat in her room, looking out at the stars. She was alone, but never lonely. Her thoughts moved beyond the academy, beyond the aliens, beyond this world. She thought of her home, a dangerous world where survival was never guaranteed. She thought of the skills she had learned, the patience she had mastered, the control she had honed. She knew that strength alone was not enough. Understanding, patience, and readiness were what kept humans alive. In the quiet halls, the academy slept. The aliens from the hallway avoided her now. They watched from a distance, unsure how to act. The human girl had not sought revenge, had not shown anger, yet she had left a mark deeper than any fight could. The fear of the unknown, the respect for what they could not measure, settled in their minds. Somewhere in the control room, the security team reviewed the camera footage again. They saw only the aftermath, the empty hallway, the shadows moving along the walls. They could not explain the camera failure. The human girl had passed through the halls, calm, unnoticed, as if the moment of chaos had been nothing more than a pause in time. The officials noted it, puzzled, and moved on. But the story of that day would spread quietly through whispers and careful glances, a story of humans who could survive, who could endure, and who could teach fear without striking a blow. The next morning, the academy was alive with quiet tension. Students walked quickly through the halls, their voices low and cautious. The previous day's events had spread in whispers. Some had seen the flickering lights. Some had noticed the cameras failing. Everyone had seen how calm the human girl had been. No one had forgotten the fear in the eyes of the alien students who had cornered her. The human girl moved through the halls as usual. She carried her books and supplies quietly, blending in with the crowd. She did not seek attention, but she noticed the curious glances from other students. Some were afraid. Some were curious. She ignored both. Her focus was on her studies, on her training, and on staying ready for anything. Alien students from the hallway sat together in a small room, trying to understand what had happened. Their leader, the tall green-scaled alien, paced nervously. He spoke softly to the others, reminding them not to underestimate humans again. He admitted to himself that their confidence had been broken. They had tried to intimidate her, and it had failed. Their fear was now their teacher. In the main academy hall, teachers noticed the tension as well. Security teams checked the camera feeds again. They could see the cameras had failed temporarily, but there was no explanation. The footage showed only empty halls. No one could explain the broken lights, the hum of the air, or the strange presence that had seemed to fill the hallway. The officials made notes and moved on, but a quiet unease settled over the building. The human girl entered her next class. She sat at the back, as usual. Some of the students near her whispered, asking if she had been involved in the camera failure. She did not answer. Her eyes remained on the teacher, on the lesson. Her calm presence reminded everyone that strength and intelligence could exist quietly. They could survive in ways others did not understand. Later, the alien students who had cornered her were called to a separate room by a senior teacher. The teacher questioned them carefully. He asked why they had blocked the hallway. They tried to lie, to claim it had been a joke, but their voices shook. Their fear was obvious. The teacher noticed and said nothing more. He knew something unusual had happened, though he did not understand it. Meanwhile, the human girl walked through a training corridor. She practiced her movements slowly and deliberately. She tested her strength, her balance, her speed. Her movements were controlled, precise, and powerful without being loud or aggressive. She did not seek to fight. She only sought to prepare. Her training was about readiness, not violence. Suddenly, one of the younger students approached her. He was small and timid, with soft gray skin and round eyes. He had seen what had happened in the hallway. He wanted to understand. He asked her why she had not reacted with anger. She smiled faintly and explained that anger wasted energy. Fear wasted more. Control and understanding were far more powerful. He listened carefully, absorbing each word. Across the academy, the alien students who had cornered her were still uneasy. They spoke quietly among themselves, trying to justify their actions, trying to understand the human girl. They admitted they had been wrong to underestimate her. Some of them even felt respect they could not express openly. They had faced a human who had survived more than they could imagine, and that alone changed their perception. The human girl finished her training and moved toward the library. She studied ancient survival techniques and strategies. She read about different worlds, different dangers, and different species. Her mind was sharp and focused. Humans survived because they prepared. Humans thrived because they understood danger. Humans endured because they never underestimated it. In the afternoon, the academy held a general assembly. Teachers spoke about safety, about rules, and about respect. They emphasized that all students must act responsibly. The alien students listened quietly, knowing their arrogance had been corrected. The human girl sat among the students, calm and composed, her presence unnoticed but powerful. Her quiet confidence spoke louder than any words. After the assembly, the human girl walked toward the observation decks. She looked out at the stars, thinking about her world and her training. She knew the galaxy was vast and full of dangers. She knew humans were different from other species, not because of weapons or size, but because of endurance, patience, and intelligence. She understood that fear and respect were earned quietly, not demanded loudly. The alien students from the hallway continued to whisper about the human girl. They spoke of her calmness, her strength, and her control. They admitted they had learned a lesson they would not forget. Humans were dangerous not because they sought violence, but because they survived it, controlled it, and understood it in ways others could not. That evening, the academy grew quiet. The human girl returned to her dormitory. She sat by a window looking at the stars. She reflected on the events of the day, on the reactions of the alien students, and on the subtle power humans held. She knew her presence had changed perceptions. She knew that calm, strength, and preparation could teach lessons louder than any shout. The galaxy was full of unknowns, but she would always be ready. And that was enough. The day after the assembly, the academy was quiet, but the tension lingered. Students moved through the halls more carefully, avoiding conflicts and speaking in low tones. Whispers followed the human girl wherever she went. She remained calm, her focus on her studies and training, as if the events of the previous days had not changed anything. But they had changed everything around her. The alien students who had cornered her were called to the senior office again. This time, the officials were serious. Boy, they questioned each one carefully. They wanted to know why the students had tried to intimidate a human. The aliens hesitated. Their pride was gone. They had no excuses that could hide the fear they felt the day before. They had been powerless against someone they had thought weak. They could not deny it. The officials listened, their faces unreadable. Then, they told the alien students that actions like theirs would not be tolerated. Rules and discipline existed for all species, no matter the homeworld. The aliens nodded, but inside they were still shaken. They could not forget the calm eyes, the controlled strength, the intelligence of the human girl. Meanwhile, the human girl moved through the academy calmly. She went to her training area and practiced her techniques. She moved with precision and control, stretching, balancing, and testing her reflexes. Her movements were quiet but powerful. Every muscle, every step, every motion was practiced and exact. She did not need to show strength. She only needed to be ready. A few curious students approached her. They wanted to know what had happened in the hallway. They asked her why the cameras had failed and why she had not reacted in fear. She answered simply. She said she had not lost control. Fear was a tool, not a master. Strength alone could not ensure survival. Understanding, patience, and readiness were far more important. The students listened carefully. Some were amazed, some were scared. They realized humans were dangerous in ways they could not see or measure. In another part of the academy, the alien students discussed what they had learned. They spoke quietly about respect and caution. They admitted they had been wrong. Their arrogance had failed them. They had tried to bully someone they thought weaker, and they had been defeated without a fight. Their fear now mixed with a strange sense of respect. They would not forget the lesson. The human girl continued her day. She went to the library, searching for information about different worlds, different species, and survival strategies. She read carefully, absorbing knowledge and understanding danger. Humans survived because they were always prepared. They were strong not just in body, but in mind and spirit. She studied not for pride, not for recognition, but for readiness. That was her way of life. Later, during a group study session, some students asked her about her homeworld. They wanted to understand what made humans different. She explained simply. Life on her world was harsh. Survival was not guaranteed. Every day required awareness, strategy, and control. Humans had learned to survive not by attacking first, but by understanding threats and controlling their response. She spoke with calm authority, and the students listened, absorbing the lesson. Across the academy, the alien students from the hallway avoided her. They watched from a distance, uncertain how to act. They did not want to anger her. They did not want to draw attention. They had learned that humans were not to be underestimated. They had learned that calm strength and intelligence could be far more dangerous than loud threats and brute force. In the evening, the academy was quiet. The human girl returned to her dormitory. She sat by the window, looking at the stars. Her thoughts moved beyond the academy, beyond the aliens, beyond the lessons of the day. She reflected on strength, control, and survival. She knew humans were different, not because of weapons or size, but because of endurance, intelligence, and calm determination. She understood that the galaxy was full of unknown dangers. She was ready for them. That night, the alien students from the hallway gathered again. They whispered quietly, discussing what they had learned. They admitted they had been wrong. They admitted that humans were not to be feared for aggression, but respected for control, patience, and understanding. The memory of the human girl's calm presence stayed with them. Her lesson had been taught without violence. Her strength had been shown without pride. And the galaxy, even in small ways, had begun to notice that humans were not to be underestimated. The next morning, the academy felt calmer. The events of the past days had settled into quiet respect. Students moved through the halls with awareness, careful not to underestimate anyone. The human girl walked with her usual calm steps, her focus on training and learning. Whispers followed her, but she did not notice them. She had a purpose beyond recognition. The alien students who had cornered her were no longer proud or arrogant. They watched her from a distance, sometimes speaking quietly among themselves. They admitted, even in whispers, that humans were different. Humans were not just survivors. They were controllers of themselves, ready for danger without showing fear. They understood strength in a way no other species did. During morning classes, the teachers spoke about respect and discipline. They reminded students that every species was important and must be treated carefully. Some students struggled to understand, especially those who had tried to bully others. The alien students from the hallway listened closely. They remembered the lessons taught without words, lessons taught by calm eyes, precise movements, and controlled strength. They felt a quiet fear mixed with respect. The human girl attended her classes quietly. She answered questions when needed. She listened carefully. Her presence alone reminded others that strength was more than muscle. It was patience. It was control. It was understanding and using knowledge to survive. Students began to notice that humans were not weak. They were not fragile. They were different, and that difference mattered. Later in the training area, the human girl practiced her exercises. Every motion was controlled. Every muscle moved with purpose. She tested her speed, her balance, her precision. She was calm, focused, and ready. Other students watched silently, learning without realizing it. Her discipline spoke louder than words. Her presence taught more than lectures ever could. The alien students from the hallway tried to approach her. They wanted to understand. Some felt guilt for what they had done. Others were curious. They asked her simple questions about survival, about strength, about her home world. She answered clearly, without pride, without anger. She spoke of control, patience, and understanding. She spoke of dangers faced every day and how humans learned to survive them. Her words made sense even to species who had never known humans before. By afternoon, the academy held a special session. Officials spoke about records and observations, and the cameras, which had failed days before, had recorded only the aftermath. Nothing explained the hum, the flickering lights, or the presence that had changed the hallway. Officials made notes but offered no explanation. Some whispered that the human girl might have triggered something ancient, something beyond their understanding. The alien students from the hallway listened quietly, feeling the weight of her presence even more. The human girl walked to the observation decks. She looked at the stars, her mind focused on her world and beyond. She thought about survival, about strength, about patience. She understood that humans were not defined by their size or weapons, but by their endurance, intelligence, and control. She knew the galaxy was full of unknown dangers, but she would be ready for them. That readiness was her power. In the evening, the alien students who had tried to corner her gathered together. They spoke quietly, acknowledging what they had learned. Humans were dangerous not because they sought to harm, but because they could survive, control, and endure in ways no other species could. The human girl's calm authority had taught them a lesson that would stay with them forever. They could never unsee it, never forget it, never underestimate humans again. The human girl returned to her dormitory and looked at the stars. She thought about the academy, about the students, and about the lessons she had taught without anger or pride. Her calm strength had changed the perceptions of many. Respect had been earned quietly. Fear had been understood and controlled. The galaxy was beginning to notice humans, not as weak creatures, but as powerful survivors. Her presence had marked the academy, her world, and perhaps even the galaxy. And she would continue ready for whatever came next.